The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.
Time once again for the UAB Director's Chair. We call it that because he is the athletic director. He is Mark Ingram. He's on the left side of the screen here on Tony Curry Radio, on our Tony Curry Radio YouTube channel. Of course, you can hear the show wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're available in every major industry, and of course, and more importantly, listen to it on the TKR app. It's Tony Curry Radio. It's a live radio thing. It's 24 hours a day. We got 14 different shows. You can hear this show at least 5 times a week. Mark, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. What's going on?
I'm excellent. Thank you. Doing very well. Thank you. I hope you're great.
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm super excited about this will be, I guess, the 8th year in partnership with the 7th annual Children's Harbor Game this weekend. Super, super cool. Something that started off, it started off gangbusters 7 years ago, but I want you to talk a little bit about what this game means, not only to the UAB Blazers. I know Trent Dilfer's already addressed emotionally to the media about just what this game means to not only the city, but to the players and certainly to the kids that it represents.
Yeah, we started it back the first season that we reinstated football back in 2017. We do this alternate gray uniform with kind of a neon green number and letters on the shirt. And so then we partnered with Children's Hospital, which is, if you can see through the wall here behind me, it's right on the other side of the street and out the backside of Bartow Arena and the organization Children's Harbor over there. So what we do is we partner with them to get names of children who are patients at the hospital. We put those kids' names on the back of our jersey, and then we'll wear these uniforms twice. And at the end of the season, we will donate those jerseys back to those kids, which is pretty great. And we knew it was a nice thing to do when we did it the first time. I don't know that we thought we'd get quite the national attention that we got, which is not the intention. I mean, it's nice. I'm glad that I think the attention, what's great on the attention piece is maybe there are other schools or other, organizations that will do something similar in their hometown or their home state, for various causes, which is really nice. And I think, there's been a lot of attention made about University of Iowa. They wave to the hospital, which is right across the street, which is
super cool.
And so it's just nice, for our teams and for other people to recognize, the hardship that it causes in one sense, but also what a blessing it is to have a great hospital like that we have here in Birmingham that can do such great work. So all those kids, if they're able, will be at the game, or their families or loved ones will be at the game on Saturday. And now, sadly, there are some kids and families that are that we've lost since we made the decision to put that child's name on the back of the shirt. So we'll be honoring those kids and those families on Saturday, which is really great.
It's super cool. And more so than just the impression that it makes from a national standpoint, just the advocacy that goes along with what you guys are doing, I think is just super respectful and just a wonderful thing. And certainly I've got children. I know a lot of people that obviously have had children that go to Children's Hospital. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful institution. They do a wonderful job.
My kids have been to the hospital, and I got 4 kids, and we've used children's hospitals of other states and the one here, of course. And it's like I said, it's a blessing.
The program came back, and ever since it's come back, it has not had a losing season. And there's still time to save that. And I know they're on a skid right now, and it's difficult times where you get a brand new head coach down there, and I know a lot of is expected of him. And certainly you saw a lot of guys from last year's team that was very good move on, and including, of course, a running back that was top notch, and quarterback and everything else. And Zeno's kind of coming into his own. But can you kind of talk where the team is right now from a mental standpoint? Just talk about where they're at right now, getting ready for a game that they should be able to win this weekend.
Yeah, and that's probably the hardest part. You're telling a team that's 1-4 that they're this close to being 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that's really watched us play, I think, would agree with that. But being this close to winning is still not winning, and nobody's more frustrated than them, right? And they have high expectations. Trent Dilfer has high expectations of himself and of their staff and of the team. And he knows that they're capable. And so probably like all of our fans, he's frustrated with it because we have enjoyed winning. And that's, again, what we expect. So, I'm fully confident in what they're doing. And I don't want to make any excuses either, but it would also be, I guess, unfair on some level to not acknowledge that, we played Louisiana, who we've lost to twice in the last 3 or 4 years, whatever. And them and Georgia Southern are probably going to end up, those two and Appalachian State will probably end up 2 of the top 3 teams, in the Sun Belt is my guess. And Georgia, I don't know if you know, is still number 1 in the country and won the last 2 national titles. And we still got to go to San Antonio, who's won the last 2 Conference USA championships and beat us the last 2 years. And we played at Tulane and had them beat, right? We had Tulane beat the other day, and they won the American Championship last year and beat Southern Cal in the Cotton Bowl, for goodness sake. So, it's been a tough schedule to this point, but again, we want to up our game. That's why we joined the American. And so, like I said, I have full faith that we're going to get there. We may not get there as fast as we'd all like, which is we'd like to get there yesterday, but I'm confident we're going to continue to get better and win some games.
Perhaps that is why maybe Trent Dilfer kind of blew his top a little bit this past week, a well-documented blowing of the top. We saw it. We already, yes, we did. And I had not probably one, but maybe 55 people who know I do this show with Mark Ingram, the UAB athletic director. You must ask him questions about the Trent Dilfer situation. I said, listen, we don't sidestep anything around here. So I did want to ask you, you saw it. I know it was a cringe moment. I know that he's apologized for it. He said he does regret it. I thought he did very, very well in addressing that. But as an athletic director, how did you address that situation?
Yes, well, not right after the game. We did actually
didn't want to get near that
briefly,
either.
Yeah, just like very briefly, like, hey man, be aware you might get a question about this from the media, which I don't think he did. But I visited with him. I came over and saw him Sunday morning, and I said right from the beginning, I said, hey, I'm not mad at you, but I do want to talk about yesterday. And it was a couple things. One, and so before I could, here's what I love about Trent. Before I could even really say anything, he said, well, I'm really sorry about it. And I'm sorry you're having to talk to me about it. I understand. And I said, look, nobody asked me to come see you. I just wanted to talk to you. And he said, no. He said, look, so this was like 11 a.m. on Sunday, and he had a 1 o'clock staff meeting. And he said, well, I'm going to apologize, to my staff at 1 o'clock, and then and specifically to the coach that it was mostly directed at. And I said, okay. And he said, and then we have a team meeting later this afternoon, and I'm going to apologize to them too. And I said, all right, well, like what's led you to that? Which I agreed with, but I just, wanted to hear him talk about it. And he said, well, as the leader of the team, I've told our team they've got to, maintain their composure, and there's a certain way to react and a certain way to not react. And I'm not setting a good example by acting like that. And that's not okay. And he said, I'm just going to ask them their forgiveness and tell them that it's not the way to act. It's not the way I want them to act. It's not the way I expect to act either. And he sort of answered everything before I could ever, really say anything. And the other great thing about Trent was not one time did he ever kind of pause to go, well, you don't know what was going on. Well, you don't know what, like he didn't try to defend anything. He wasn't defensive about it. We had a great conversation. We just talked, and he's a great guy. And as much as anything, what I would hate is, moments like that to change the image of who he actually is and make people kind of question, is he really a great guy? Trent Dilfer's a great guy. He's a great guy. And one of the many reasons that we were attracted to him and wanted to hire him was he talks so much. I don't want to say he doesn't talk about football, but he talks about really the importance of raising young people into being respectful, husbands and fathers and neighbors and citizens. And he really thinks that his best avenue to doing that is coaching football, which he also is passionate about. And he feels like accountability is something that's really been lost with a lot of young people and on teams. And he says, look, if I can't count on you to go to class, how can I count on you to catch the ball on third down when I've got to throw the ball and you got to catch it? How can I count on you to cover that receiver or to make that tackle or to make that kick? If I can't count on you to do these little things like go to class, then, how can I count on you for these other things? Which is a great point, by the way. And but that's just sort of like a look into who he is and why he came right out of the gate with an apology to everybody about it. He's still mad about it. He's still mad about the situation that we had 12 men on the field and we gave the ball back to Tulane, who ultimately did not score, but they did chew 5 more minutes off the clock in a pivotal time, right? So anyway, he knows that that's not what he wants to do or what he wants people to think of him. And again, I'm thankful to be able to have a conversation like that. I mean it. Not 1 second of it was there any tension or weirdness about it. He right out of the gate was apologizing and saying, I just let my emotions get the best of me at a time where I knew, because look, man, again, come back to your other question about winning. He wants to win, you know, and he knows how close we are to winning. You fumble on the goal, literally on the goal line, not near the goal line, on the goal line, and then that and those two things maybe are the difference in winning. And you mentioned Jacob Zeno. I was at practice yesterday, and I don't even know what came up about it, but I didn't bring it up. But he said Jacob is playing so well. He said I couldn't even be upset with him about it. Yeah. He goes, the guy was trying to make a play. He said something like Jacob, I guess, had come to him and said, Coach, I was kind of back to my old ways. Like, I got to go do something superhero, do a thing on my own instead of just respecting the fact that the play was, I'm going to take the snap and we're all going to push together forward and we're all going to cross the goal line. And he said, he's like, I couldn't even get onto the guy. He goes, look at his numbers. He's like, he's become really accurate. He's made very few bad decisions. Not like it's perfect by any means, but like, man, him and those receivers have been throwing and catching a lot. Yep. And so, credit to them. And again, credit to Coach Dilfer and the other guys, all the other coaches, the assistant coaches, for taking a new system that's really complex and kind of jamming some square pegs into that round hole.
3 p.m. kickoff against USF, the Children's Harbor game, the 7th annual, coming up this weekend. You can watch that game on ESPN2, but go on down to Protective and check out your UAB Blazers. Get it done. Go to UAB Blazers and UABsports.com for more information. This is called the UAB Director's Chair. He's Mark Ingram, the UAB Athletic Director. He joins us here. I'm Tony Curry on Tony Curry Radio. Interesting email here, info@tonycurryradio.net. And I didn't realize Jack State, of course, now an FBS school, Sam Houston, Liberty, all these schools that used to be these FCS schools used to get these big paydays. Now all of a sudden they're all FBS schools. Kennesaw State's going to be another one. Coastal Carolina is also. James Madison's now an FBS school. I didn't realize. I think I want to say about 10 years ago, or maybe 6-7 years ago, there were about 114 teams, and now it's like 138 or 139 college football teams that are FBS squad. And everyone's kind of, I'm not saying they're jockeying for position because we're going to a 12-team playoff next year, but the timing is quite apropos for that. Jay in Lakeview wants to know, as an athletic director, how difficult is it to go from an FCS to an FBS? What kind of money is involved in that? And what are the pros and cons of making that happen?
Well, I appreciate that question. I personally have never done that, but, observing it and being aware of it. So you have to, the biggest difference is the number of scholarships that you have in football. You've got to increase from 65 to 85 scholarships. And there was a rule where you also had to maintain a certain attendance level of I think the average, you had to average at least 15,000 people at your home football games. Those were two of the things that, that were different. And, beyond that, in terms of expense is if you're, when you go to FCS, from FCS to FBS, and now if you're in a conference, you're not independent, you're going to find yourself also now going, okay, well, what do the coaches, not just football, but what does every coach in this league, what does their compensation look like, and how do we compare? So next thing you know, the compensation for everybody on the staff, the whole department, is sort of under review, and so it's a massive expense.
Can you talk about what is the difference between, say, we'll say a Sunbelt or just an FBS? Talk about the differences between what an FCS coach makes and what an FBS coach makes.
Well, I thought the AD from Jacksonville State, Greg Seitz, I thought I read something the other day that showed it was like a $5 million annual expense
For the
that
entire
they-
staff.
Yeah, that they
Yeah.
were preparing for as a department at Jacksonville State. I hate to say that and not remember exactly. Had I known this question was coming, I would probably kept it or printed a copy of it so I could. But I think that's the number, and it's salaries, it's scholarships, it's additional travel. But even though, so they're joining Conference USA, which of course we left Conference USA, but they do still have a television deal where they're going to be on television more than they were before. So now you've got some number of people around the country watching their games and talking about Jacksonville State, and that we're not doing that before. So the exposure for the institution, again, these are institutional decisions. We always talk about sports because it's for obvious reasons, but like, I don't make that decision. Now the president made that decision with my consultation. Yes. And a lot of other people, but it's ultimately, does the institution see value in aligning with those other schools in that league, and then to what end? Why do we want to do this? And it's usually television exposure to marketing decision ultimately for the institution.
And ultimately, when you're talking about, and I think you brought this up, maybe 10, 12 different athletic departments in the country are actually in the black. Is that something that you just forego to know that you're going to be operating in the red for quite some time until you get?
I think if you're going to have athletics, you're operating in the red.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not just FBS. I mean, the FCS. I only mention the FBS programs. There's probably not 20 FBS athletic departments that operate in the black without institutional funding or institutional support.
Yeah.
There probably are not 20 out of the 138 or whatever you mentioned. Then there's the FCS that probably are zero. There are probably zero of them that aren't operating without some institutional support. So it is a financial loss if you're just looking at what do we spend and what do we make? What are the revenues and expenses? You got to layer in the marketing stuff and the association with being able to carry your brand around, your flag, carry that from school to school, city to city, and help promote the university for enrollment and other purposes.
You know what, Mark? In 2 days, the temperature is going to drop 20 degrees. It's going to be perfect college football weather on Saturday for that football game. It's going to be fantastic. Go check it out. Go to UABsports.com, UABsports.com. Get your tickets here for the Children's Harbor game coming up 3 p.m. against South Florida going on this Saturday. The UAB Blazers getting off the schneid, getting a big victory this weekend. Thank you, brother.
We've got a good crowd in terms of early ticket sales are good. So, awesome. Come down there and be with us. It is going to be a beautiful day and get a great opportunity to play a team that, went toe-to-toe with Alabama down in Tampa a couple of weeks ago. So this is a good football team. They're really big, really physical. We know that we've got a tough test, but we also know that we can win. We've shown, like I said, particularly the last 2 weeks at Tulane and against Georgia at Georgia, we feel very confident that we have the ability to win this game. We just got to get over that hump. So we need everybody there to help us out.
We'll see you Saturday.
Thanks, man. Go Blazers.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.